Of all the materials introduced into the roofing industry in the last 100 years, EPDM membrane has had the largest impact. For the past 30 years, this incredibly durable, lightweight, and easy-to-install membrane has been the choice of roofing professionals the world over. Now, Watertight Technologies has brought Rubberall EPDM membrane to the residential contractor. From this video and accompanying handbook, you will learn how to install Rubberall membrane using the same techniques commercial applicators use. For instructional value, certain scenes in this video are of an actual roof installation. Others are shot in a studio setting. All Watertight Technologies products are formulated for ease of application and, when properly installed, provide the homeowner with a roof system that will be problem-free and last for years. Many Rubberall adhesives and solvents are extremely flammable and should be kept away from non-explosion-proof equipment, flames, and other sources of ignition. Do not smoke when using these products. Do not use drill-mounted stirrers to mix Rubberall adhesives. These products can explode when exposed to high temperatures. Use only in well-ventilated areas. Avoid breathing vapors and contact with skin when using Rubberall adhesives and solvents. Read safety instructions on the product's labels. For important health, safety, and handling information, consult the material safety data sheets for all Rubberall products available from your local dealer or online at www.rubberall.com. Let us share some of the basic information about the primary products. 45 mil and 60 mil Rubberall EPDM roofing membrane is a synthetic rubber, ethylene propylene diene monomer, used for flat and low-sloped roofs. 60 mil membrane is recommended for roofing, as it is easier to install in a fully adhered application without getting wrinkles in the membrane. 45 mil Rubberall membrane may also be used as a roofing membrane. However, this thinner gauge membrane is not recommended for the first-time installer. Rubberall membrane panels come in a variety of sizes, as small as 10 feet by 25 feet, as large as 20 feet by 100 feet. Approximate weight of the Rubberall is 30 pounds and 40 pounds per 100 square feet for 45 mil and 60 mil respectively. Rubberall 60 mil membrane has a 30-year warranty, while 45 mil has a 20-year warranty. Rubberall membrane has many other uses, most notably as a flexible pond lining material. Solvent-based bonding adhesive is used to adhere EPDM membrane to half-inch wood fiberboard. Isoceranurate insulation. Oriented strand board or OSB. Plywood. It should not be used to adhere EPDM directly to the polystyrene insulation, nor should it be used to seam EPDM to itself. This yellow-colored adhesive comes in 1-gallon cans or 5-gallon pails. The average coverage is 60 square feet of finished surface per gallon, but may increase depending on the porosity of the substrate. Apply bonding adhesive by rolling to clean, dry, grease-free surfaces. Both surfaces to be bonded must be coated with the bonding adhesive. An open time of 5 to 30 minutes is recommended before assembly, depending on ambient conditions. The adhesive should be allowed to dry until it does not stick to a dry finger touch. Shelf life is 1 year when stored at temperature no higher than 90 degrees Fahrenheit in unopened containers. Water-based bonding adhesive may be used to adhere EPDM to a porous, rigid board substrate such as plywood, half-inch wood fiberboard. Solvent-based bonding adhesive is recommended when using OSB board. Water-based bonding adhesive has an advantage over solvent-based bonding adhesive, as it needs to be applied to only one surface when adhering to plywood, and the Rubberall membrane can be laid into the adhesive without waiting for the adhesive to dry. With this adhesive, you can reposition the membrane during installation, thus wrinkles are easily eliminated. As the adhesive does not cure for 24 to 48 hours, be careful not to move the membrane when walking on it. This adhesive is applied at a rate of 10 to 12 mils, that is 100 to 120 square feet per gallon. This product should not be used to seam EPDM panels together. Care must be taken to ensure this product does not freeze and should only be applied at a temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit and rising, with no chance of temperatures below freezing in the next 48 hours. Seam tape is butyl tape used to adhere one membrane to another. Available in 3-inch by 25 and 100-foot rolls for roofing applications. Rubberol seam tape has been formulated to provide high initial strength in both shear and peel. Its performance over the full range of rooftop weather is unsurpassed, as it is unaffected by heat or cold. Seam tape primer must be applied to the membrane surface with a Rubberol scrub pad prior to applying the seam tape. Roll entire surface with a steel hand roller after mating the surfaces. Rubberol seam tape is a cured material and will not degrade in normal warehouse storage. In time, the release paper may become difficult to remove. For this reason, the recommended shelf life is 12 months. Rubberol Seam Tape Primer Plus is a solvent-based primer designed to clean and prime Rubberol membrane prior to application of Rubberol tape products. Rubberol taped products will not adhere or perform over time if Seam Tape Primer Plus is not used. Seam Tape Primer Plus must be applied with a Rubberol scrub pad. Rubberol Seam Tape Primer Plus is also recommended for use in cleaning membrane surfaces when using rubber-to-rubber adhesive, as it enhances the bonding of the membranes as compared to using membrane cleaner. Rubberol Seam Tape Primer Plus can be used on galvanized steel, stainless steel, and aluminum metal drip edge in conjunction with the application of Rubberol taped products on these surfaces. Membrane surfaces must be clean, dry, and free of foreign materials. Excessively dirty membrane should be cleaned with Rubberol membrane cleaner and a clean rag. The solids suspended in the seam tape primer tend to settle to the bottom of the container and should be thoroughly stirred before use. During use, re-stir frequently, every 15 to 20 minutes. The primer must be used full strength. Do not dilute. Scrub in primer with a Rubberol scrub pad saturated with the seam tape primer. The surface should appear wet while scrubbing. Prime an area wider than the area being spliced to ensure proper adhesion to the primed surfaces only. Do not merely paint the primer on. It must be applied with the scrub pad. The primed surface should be uniformly black without streaks. If the scrub pad becomes filled with debris or contaminants from the membrane, discard and use a new scrub pad. Allow the surfaces to dry to the touch, usually less than 10 minutes, before applying Rubberol taped products or rubber-to-rubber adhesive. Store in original, unopened container, indoors and out of direct sunlight at temperatures below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The shelf life is approximately 24 months if stored in original unopened containers at temperatures between 60 degrees and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Rotate stock. Rubberol rubber-to-rubber adhesive is a synthetic-based polymer adhesive and is specifically tailored to adhere EPDM sheet roofing stock to itself. Rubber-to-rubber adhesive has a long tack time, and the bond is resistant to aging, heat, cold, water, and gas. Clean the dry mating surfaces using a clean cotton cloth with Rubberol membrane cleaner. Allow to dry. More attention should be given to cleaning the areas at factory seams. Cotton cloths must be discarded as they become dirty and replaced with clean ones to assure proper cleaning. Proper cleaning has been achieved when the membrane surface is dark gray in color and no streaking is evident. For added bond strength, it is recommended that Rubberol Seam Tape Primer Plus be applied with a Rubberol scrub pad in place of the Rubberol membrane cleaner. In this case, membrane cleaner need not be used unless the membrane is excessively dirty or covered with talc. Using solvent-impervious gloves and goggles, thoroughly stir the rubber-to-rubber adhesive to achieve a uniform mix with no sediment on the bottom and no marbling evident before and during use. Do not thin. Apply an even coat to each bonding surface, avoiding globs and puddles. Adhesive may be applied by brush or roller to clean, dry, grease-free surfaces. Allow the solvents in the adhesive to flash off. An open time of 30 minutes or less is recommended before assembly of the seam, depending on ambient conditions. The adhesive should be allowed to dry until it does not stick to a dry finger touch. Then, mate the surfaces by allowing the top sheet to fall freely onto the bottom sheet so as not to stretch or wrinkle the membrane. Apply pressure to completely mate the two surfaces. Roll the entire lapped seam with the Rubberall hand roller. Apply lap caulk to the membrane edges. Coverage rate for a 4-inch seam, assuming a 5-inch substrate application on each surface, is approximately 120 linear feet per gallon of finished seam. For rubber-to-rubber flashing, coverage is 50 to 60 square feet finished surface per gallon when applying adhesive to both membrane surfaces. Cover can when not in use. When exposed to lower temperatures, restore to room temperature prior to use. Thinning is not allowed. Uncured flashing patch is a moldable EPDM membrane and is used for flashing details, protrusions, T-joint patches, and field seams incorporating angle changes. Uncured EPDM flashing patch has a self-adhering backing and should be applied using seam tape primer. Store the patches in the original unopened cartons at temperatures between 60 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit until ready for use. During hot weather, do not expose to sunlight or elevated temperatures until ready for application. Rubberall flashing patch is an uncured EPDM membrane, meaning it was never put in an oven and cured in the way the membrane panels are cured. It is designed to be used to mold the EPDM in the shape of outside corners, pipe flashings, and as T-joint patches. Heat and sun on the rooftop will cure the uncured flashing patch in the shape that it was molded. Over time, uncured flashing will cure even in the warehouse. For this reason, it is recommended that the shelf life of all uncured products be no longer than 1 year. Cured cover strip is a laminate, cured EPDM membrane and butyl tape rolled on a release paper as a self-sticking cover strip. Cured cover strip is a black EPDM rubber-based product developed for use with the Rubberall EPDM roofing membrane. Cured cover strip is used to cover cuts in the field membrane or over the exposed fasteners attaching metal drip edge. This product is available in rolls that are 5 inches by 25 feet and 6 inches by 100 feet. Surfaces should be primed with seam tape primer before installation and should be rolled with a steel hand roller after installation. Cured cover strip will not degrade in normal warehouse storage. In time, the release paper may become difficult to remove. For this reason, the recommended shelf life is 12 months. Rubberall membrane cleaner is used to clean EPDM surfaces before using rubber-to-rubber adhesive, and is also used to clean metal drip edge prior to installing cover strip. Membrane cleaner is recommended for cleaning excessively dirty membrane before using seam tape primer and tape products. Membrane cleaner is available in 1-gallon cans. Store membrane cleaner at room temperature between 60 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the originally sealed explosion-proof container away from all sources of direct heat and ignition. A shelf life of 12 months can be expected when properly stored. Lap caulk is used to caulk exposed edges of rubber-to-rubber details, edges of uncured EPDM flashings, top of termination bar, and top of pipe boot clamps. Approximate coverage is 20 feet per 10-ounce tube. It does not need to be used on field seams or flashing using seam tape. Water cutoff mastic serves as a compression gasket, preventing contaminants from accessing the roof system where the membrane has been mechanically terminated. Mastic is applied between the substrate and membrane prior to installing termination bar and prior to installing the pipe boot clamp. Coverage is approximately 20 feet per 10-ounce tube. Water cut-off mastic is also used as a temporary overnight sealant or water stop. Termination bars are 5 or 10-foot lengths of aluminum bar with holes 6 inches on center used to mechanically secure membrane at walls, curbs, chimneys, etc. Termination bars may be used in lieu of metal drip edge on fascias. All holes in a termination bar must be filled with appropriate fasteners. Peel and stick pipe boot is a multi-size, pre-molded EPDM boot used to flash pipes ranging in diameter from 1 inch to 6 7/8 inches. Peel and stick pipe boot is supplied with tape backing and release paper applied to bottom flange. A pipe boot should be terminated at the top with a stainless steel pipe boot clamp that is included with the product. Typical hand tools needed are 2-inch steel or hard rubber hand roller, a 9-inch paint roller frame, and several medium nap solvent-compatible roller covers, caulking gun, screw gun, hammer, solvent-resistant rubber gloves, scissors, tape measure, chalk line, utility knife, fire extinguisher, safety glasses and eye cleaning solution, marking crayon, Rubberall scrub pad, tin snips, cotton rags, duct tape, stiff push broom. When installing a new Rubberall membrane roof over an existing roof, the installation of an insulation or recover board is required. Several different substrates will accept Rubberall's bonding adhesive, half-inch wood fiber board, isoceranurate insulation, oriented strand board or OSB, plywood. Please check with the manufacturer to be sure the insulation board and Rubberall adhesives are compatible. When using a 4x8 insulation or recover board, always use one of 2 fastening patterns. 16 fasteners per board, or 1 fastener every 2 square feet, should always be used on the perimeter of the roof. The field of the roof should have a minimum of 8 fasteners per board, or 1 every 4 square feet. Fasteners should be placed approximately 6 inches from the edge of the board. Do not put the fasteners between the boards. Always install more fasteners around chimneys, pipes, skylights, and other protrusions. In areas of high winds, it is recommended to install 16 fasteners per board throughout the roof. Inspect the roof to ensure there are no wood splinters or screws protruding above the deck. Using a push broom or blower, clean the deck in preparation for the installation of the Rubberall membrane. Unroll a sheet of Rubberall and allow it to relax and acclimate itself to current temperature. This could take 15 to 30 minutes. After the membrane has relaxed, measure and cut panels that will extend over the edges by several inches. On a calm day, all panels may be positioned on the deck before gluing begins. Be certain to overlap each panel at least 4 inches to allow for seaming. Duct tape may be used to keep panels from shifting or blowing in the wind. Fold the first membrane panel to be adhered onto itself so that 1/2 of the sheet and the deck are exposed. Open and thoroughly stir the bonding adhesive. Using a solvent-accepting paint roller, apply the Rubberall bonding adhesive to the substrate and the EPDM sheet at a rate of 60 square feet per gallon. The adhesive must be applied to 100% of both surfaces in an even coat without globs or puddles. Extreme care must be taken to ensure no bonding adhesive is applied to the membrane surface in the area that will later be seamed. Allow the adhesive to dry to a finger touch of tacky but not stringy. If membrane is adhered to the substrate before the adhesive has dried, blisters will form under the membrane. If small blisters appear, they will normally disappear after a few days. When the adhesive is dry to the touch, fluff air under the top half of the sheet and roll the sheet onto the glued substrate. Roll the membrane from the middle of the sheet first, followed by the ends. Do not let the ends of the sheet roll ahead of the middle, as this will cause wrinkles in the sheet. With a stiff broom, broom the fully adhered portion of the sheet to ensure 100% adhesion to the substrate. Do not apply enough pressure to cause the Rubberol EPDM to wrinkle. Continue adhering subsequent Rubberol panels until all panels are glued to the OSB board. Remember, make certain panels are overlapped at least 4 inches and no bonding adhesive is applied to the area of the membrane that will later be seamed. The membrane seaming process begins by marking the membrane 1/2 inch from the leading seam edge. Snap a chalk line in the air to remove excess dust, and then snap a line on the marks just measured. Apply 2 or 3 small pieces of seam tape to the top side of the membrane. This tape is useful to hold the membrane as it is folded back to expose the seam area. If the EPDM membrane is contaminated with dirt, dust, or debris, clean the seam area with membrane cleaner on a cotton cloth before applying seam tape primer. Here is an example where the bonding adhesive is in the seaming area and must be removed. To remove the adhesive, stick a piece of duct tape on the bonding adhesive and remove it slowly. If all of the bonding adhesive does not come off, repeat this step. Stir the seam tape primer. Using the scratch pad, apply the seam tape primer using back and forth strokes with moderate pressure until the seam surface attains a smooth black appearance. Seam tape primer should be applied up to, but without removing, the chalk line. Allow the primer to dry. Unroll the seam tape along the length of the seam, with tape side down, aligning the seam tape paper with the chalk line. Using moderate pressure, draw the scratch pad or roller along the seam tape release paper. This will set the seam tape in place and keep air from being trapped under the tape. Fold the top membrane onto the seam tape release paper and peel off the small pieces of tape used to hold the membrane back. Reaching under the top ply of membrane, pull the release paper away from the seam tape at a 45-degree angle to the seam. While removing the paper, draw your hand across the seam, from the back to the leading edge. This will prevent wrinkles and fish mouths from forming in the seam. After the paper is removed, roll the entire length of the seam with a steel hand roller, first across the seam and then the length of the seam. If the seam tape does not visibly extend beyond the leading seam edge of the membrane, the edge should be cleaned with membrane cleaner and caulked with lap caulk. Consecutive rolls of seam tape may be spliced by overlapping the end of one roll and the start of a second, a minimum of 1 inch, and firmly rolling with a steel hand roller. Rather than solvent-based adhesive, you may wish to consider using Rubberol water-based membrane adhesive, as this adhesive is very user-friendly and non-flammable. Let us demonstrate how to adhere Rubberol membrane using Rubberol water-based adhesive on a plywood substrate. Let us also demonstrate an alternative method of positioning panels and seaming. After the membrane has had time to relax, panels are positioned end to end. Using duct tape to hold the panels in place is always a good idea. Lay 1/2 of a panel back. Stir the adhesive and apply adhesive to one surface only at a rate of 100 square feet per gallon. While the adhesive is still wet, roll the membrane into the adhesive and broom to ensure wetting of the membrane with the adhesive. One should lift and visually inspect the first panel adhered. There should be good transfer of adhesive onto the membrane, indicating enough adhesive was used to provide adequate wetting of the membrane. If there are wrinkles in the membrane, the membrane may be moved to eliminate them. Proceed gluing the remainder of the panels. As the adhesive will take a day or two to dry fully, take care not to move the membrane if it is walked on. Do not use this adhesive if the temperatures are expected to be 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower in the next 48 hours. If adhesive gets in the area of the seam, clean the area with a damp cloth and allow it to dry before seaming. Using a Rubberall scrub pad and seam tape primer, prime an area 4 inches on either side of the ends of the panels. After the primer has flashed off, install a 6-inch cured cover strip, centering it directly over the line where the 2 panels joined. Roll the cured cover strip with a steel roller, moving first across and then vertically. If a protrusion is encountered, roll the membrane up to the protrusion and make a cut from the protrusion to the nearest membrane edge. Roll the membrane around the protrusion, cutting the membrane as it rolls into position. Before installing the pipe boot, a cured cover strip must be applied over the pipe cut. Using the Rubberall scratch pad, apply the tape primer to the area receiving the cured cover tape. After the primer has flashed off, cut the cured cover tape the proper length and round the corners. Remove the paper backing and apply the cured cover tape over the cut. The tape should extend 3 inches on each side of the cut. It should extend from the pipe past the end of the cut. Roll the cured cover tape with a seam roller, first rolling across the tape, then the length of the tape. Place the pipe boot over the pipe and cut the pipe boot above the desired pipe boot ring. Slide the pipe boot over the pipe into its final position. Turn the pipe boot inside out and apply a bead of water cutoff mastic to the bottom of the pipe boot and the pipe. Using the Rubberall scratch pad, apply tape primer to the membrane in a circle approximately 14 inches in diameter around the pipe. This will ensure that the primer extends past the pipe boot. Bring the pipe boot down over the pipe and remove the release paper from the boot. Slide the pipe boot down onto the roof and roll in with a hand roller. Install the pipe boot clamp and apply lap caulk around the top of the boot. Cut off the excess clamp strap. On a pipe or other protrusion, where a pipe boot cannot be used, it must be flashed in with 2 plies of uncured tape flashing. First, apply the tape primer to the pipe and membrane area. Cut the uncured flashing patch the desired length. Fold the flashing so that a minimum of 2 inches of membrane extends onto the roof deck and a minimum of 2 inches extends up the pipe. Wrap the pipe with the membrane. Then, while stretching the membrane towards the ends, fold the membrane onto the deck. When using more than 1 piece to go around the pipe, overlap the pieces a minimum of 2 inches. After the first ply has been installed and thoroughly rolled in, apply tape primer and install the second ply, extending the flashing a minimum of 4 inches onto the roof deck and a minimum of 8 inches up the pipe. If it is necessary to extend the membrane higher than 8 inches, wrap the pipe with another piece of uncured flashing to attain the desired height. Be sure to overlap the top of the existing membrane a minimum of 2 inches. Clean and apply a bead of lap caulk to the top of the flashing. Cut a piece of EPDM membrane to be used as a flashing. It should extend at least 18 inches in all directions from the penetration and should have rounded corners. Cut a hole in the center of the flashing membrane to accommodate the raised section of the prefabricated pipe boot. Lay the membrane over the penetration and mark an outline of the rubber flashing on the roof. Use membrane cleaner and a clean rag to clean an area of the roof larger than the flashing patch. Also clean one side of the flashing patch. Rubber gloves should be worn when using membrane cleaner. While the membrane cleaner is drying, apply water cut-off mastic to the bottom of the factory pipe boot. When the cleaner has dried, slide the boot over the pipe and attach with screws in the four corners. Open and stir the rubber-to-rubber adhesive. With a solvent-resistant roller, apply rubber-to-rubber adhesive to the membrane flashing and the roofing membrane. The adhesive should be dry to a finger touch that is tacky but not stringy. Carefully slide the flashing membrane down over the pipe so as not to get wrinkles. With your hand, smooth from the center out and roll with a hand roller. Clean the edges of the flashing patch with membrane cleaner and apply a 1/4 inch bead of lap caulk. When replacing the furnace vent, it is recommended you enlist the services of an expert heating contractor. Cut the membrane so that the opening to the furnace is exposed. Add an extension to the furnace flue to compensate for the added height of the roof. Using Rubberol membrane cleaner, clean the membrane around the opening. Apply water cut-off mastic to the bottom of the furnace pipe flange. Firmly set the pipe back into the furnace flue, making certain the pipes overlap such that there is no possibility of furnace exhaust entering the home. Have your furnace contractor inspect this installation. Screw the furnace pipe flange to the deck. Cut 2 rectangular pieces of Rubberol membrane. Round the corners and cut an opening in each the size of the furnace pipe. Test fit these pieces. The upper piece should extend several inches over the lower membrane piece. Mark the outline of these pieces on the deck. Using membrane cleaner and a clean rag, clean the membrane on the deck and the flashing piece that will be attached to the lower side of the deck. Stir the rubber-to-rubber adhesive, and after the membrane cleaner has dried, apply a smooth, even coat to the deck area and the membrane. Allow the adhesive to dry until the adhesive is tacky but not stringy. Carefully install the lower piece. Roll the membrane firmly to ensure good adhesion. Clean the roof and the flashing membrane. Apply rubber-to-rubber adhesive and install the upper section of flashing. Apply a 1/4 inch bead of lap caulk around all edges of the flashing detail. When it is necessary to extend the membrane around a chimney or skylight, use the following procedure. Roll the membrane up to the chimney. Measure the depth of the chimney and make a mark on the membrane for each side. You are transferring the exact dimensions of the chimney onto the membrane. Using a marker, draw a line from the corners of the chimney to the opposite measured marks on the membrane, creating an X. Then find the membrane edge that is closest to the X. Cut the X mark and the line to the closest edge. Using a paper punch, punch a hole in the membrane at the end of each cut to prevent the cut from migrating. Lay the membrane around the chimney and check the final position of the sheet. All cuts should line up and the membrane should lie comfortably in place. Next, fold the membrane back onto itself and begin the gluing procedures. After the adhesive has dried, roll the membrane around the chimney. Tuck the membrane tightly into the chimney angle change and roll the membrane up the chimney. Before the chimney can be properly flashed, the membrane cut from the chimney to the nearest edge must be flashed in with cured cover tape. First, prime the area of the membrane to be patched. Then, after the primer has flashed off, install the cured cover tape and roll in with a hand roller. Begin flashing the chimney by applying tape primer to the outside corner membrane and chimney. Cut the first ply of flashing 6 inches by 8 inches, cutting the corners round. Fold the flashing 2 inches from the bottom and install against the vertical surface so that half the flashing is on either side of the corner. Next, roll the flashing down and adhere the flashing to the roof at both corners. Then, starting from the middle, stretch the membrane towards each corner as the flashing is mated to the roof surface. Roll the flashing in with a hand roller. Next, after repriming the entire area, round the corners on a 12-inch by 12-inch uncured patch, folding the patch so that approximately 4 inches extends onto the roof. After the tape primer has flashed off, install the second layer using the same application methods as the first layer. After all outside corners are flashed, measure and cut a piece of membrane that will attain the desired flashing height on the chimney. Apply rubber-to-rubber adhesive to the membrane and chimney. After the adhesive has flashed off, install the flashing so that the membrane stays at least 1 inch above the roof. After the flashing is adhered and the seaming is complete, peel the top of the membrane away from the chimney and apply water cutoff mastic to the membrane and chimney. Place and fasten the termination bar by pre-drilling each hole with a mortar bit. Install pin anchors in each hole. Cut off the excess membrane and apply a bead of lap caulk to the top of the bar. Clean the flashing with membrane cleaner and apply lap caulk to the seam edge. Apply adhesive to the membrane wall flashing and the wall. Check the adhesive and tuck the entire membrane snugly into the angle change. Then, beginning in the middle of the wall, roll the membrane up the wall towards the ends of the membrane. Make sure 100% of the wall flashing is adhered. Use enough pressure to firmly secure the membrane to the substrate. Remember, all adhesives and tape products require 100% contact to ensure product performance. When an inside corner is encountered, use the excess wall flashing membrane to create a pig's ear corner. After one wall is adhered in place, lay the opposite wall flashing membrane in place and create the pig's ear with the excess material. Mark the membrane where it will be adhered to itself and clean the area with membrane cleaner. After the membrane cleaner has dried, apply rubber-to-rubber adhesive to the cleaned area. Next, clean the membrane behind the ear and apply rubber-to-rubber adhesive. Check the adhesive and fold the ear into position. Roll firmly into place with a hand roller. Because the pig's ear is created using a tightly folded cured membrane, a securement strip of cured membrane with tape must be applied. First, apply seam tape primer using the Rubberall Primer Scratch Pad. After the primer has dried, apply the cured with tape patch by first removing the protective release paper and then centering the membrane over the leading edge of the pig's ear flashing. Roll firmly into place with a hand roller. After the wall membrane has been adhered in place, measure the height desired and mark the membrane for placement of the termination bar. Remember, wall flashings should extend a minimum of 12 inches above the roof deck. Peel the membrane from the wall approximately 1 inch below the mark and apply a bead of water cutoff mastic to the membrane and wall. Line the top of the termination bar up with the line on the membrane and secure the bar. If the wall is concrete, pre-drill the holes and insert pin anchors. If the wall is wood, use coated roof deck screws. Be sure to install a fastener in every hole. Always leave a 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch gap between the bars to allow for expansion. Using a straight edge knife, cut the excess membrane from above the termination bar and apply a bead of lap caulk to the top of the bar. Where a field seam turns up a wall, a radical bend patch should be installed. From an uncured flashing patch, cut a piece 6 inches by 12 inches. Apply tape primer with the Rubberall scratch pad and allow to flash off. Apply the patch so that half the patch is on the wall and half is on the roof. Roll the patch into place. At the angle change, before installing metal edge, apply seam tape primer and install an uncured tape flashing patch. Then, using roofing nails, nail off the overhanging membrane every 4 to 6 inches. Be sure the metal drip edge face is wide enough to cover all nail heads. On outside corners, fold the membrane and nail the fold before installing the metal drip edge. After the gutter installation is complete, install the metal drip edge using galvanized deck screws or galvanized ring shank nails. Lightly sand the metal drip edge and clean the metal and membrane with membrane cleaner. This will remove any oils that may remain on the metal drip edge. After the metal and membrane have been cleaned, apply tape primer to the surfaces. Allow the primer to flash off and install the cured cover tape 1/2 inch in from the outside edge of the metal drip edge. Roll the membrane with a hand roller. A T-joint is formed when 3 or more layers of membrane exist, and the leading edge of the middle layer travels under the top layer. An uncured tape flashing patch should be installed over all T-joints. Whenever a pipe boot is installed over a cured cover strip, a T-joint is created, and it is necessary to install an uncured tape T-joint patch. A single T-joint patch can cover more than one T-joint. First, apply tape primer to the T-joint area. Be sure to apply the primer to an area larger than the T-joint patch that will be installed. Allow the primer to flash off. Remove the release paper from the uncured tape patch and apply the T-joint patch, taking care to center the patch directly over the T-joints. Roll the patch with a hand roller. Place the termination bar into position. Snug the membrane down and fold the excess material at the outside corner. Fasten the termination bar using coated deck screws. Cut off any excess membrane and apply lap caulk to the top of the bar. When installing the membrane under shingles, extend the membrane under a minimum of 3 courses of shingles. Peel the membrane back and apply a bead of water cut-off mastic. Then nail the membrane to the deck. When installing the shingles, keep the first course at least 4 inches above the roof transition. After the first course is installed, apply a small bead of lap caulk under each tab to adhere the bottom shingle tabs to the membrane. If extra protection is desired on an existing EPDM membrane roof, it is acceptable to apply a cured cover strip over the existing seams. First, apply tape primer with the Rubberall scratch pad. After the primer has flashed off, apply the cured cover tape centered over the seam edge and roll it in with a hand roller. This procedure is also recommended when repairing a cut in the existing membrane. When properly installed, the durable Rubberall EPDM roof will provide many years of problem-free service. Watertight Technologies backs up this claim with the best membrane warranty in the industry. Rubberall 60mm membrane comes with a 30-year material and labor-limited warranty, while 45mm membrane has a 20-year material and labor-limited warranty. Details of this warranty are available from your supplier or online at www.rubberall.com. Watertight Technologies. Rubberall membrane should be your first choice for low-slope roofing applications, including a mobile home roof over. What's more, Rubberall membrane has many non-roofing applications. most notably as a pond lining membrane. The Rubberall product line is designed with you in mind. Rubberall. Long-term performance. Long-term peace of mind.